Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of my story series for my Starting Over Softly and Boldly Rebuilding After Heartbreak series that you saw me start. I realized I kept saying that I would share, like, how did we get to this place? And I sat down and recorded that video, and after it got to about 15 minutes and I hadn't even made it past getting pregnant in high school, I realized it probably was best to break this down into maybe like a 10-part episode series. So I am just here, if I'm looking off cameras, because I got notes so I can stay on topic and not ramble. And I'm going to kind of try to keep these in just 15 minutes so that's not taking up too much of your time, nor taking me a long time to get to the point. But I'm just here to share my truth of 21 years of love, marriage, motherhood, and now healing after heartbreak and betrayal. So today we're starting with episode 1, when I first fell in love. So I got my little cues to keep me on point. We're gonna start with where we met. So we met in high school. I lived in Georgia at this time. We met at a barbecue. My best friends at the time was his cousins, and every time they had little get-togethers, a lot of cousins and family would come around, and it was always this game of trying to figure out which cousin they could fix me up with, because we were girls and childish and we were trying to find ways so we could be family. And it just happened at this one, I met the guy who eventually became my husband. He was their cousin. He was visiting. He didn't remember meeting me that night. It was literally like as he was leaving the party, I was just coming outside, and I remember him asking, like, hey, do y'all have any friends my age that I could talk to? And I'm in the back like, me, pick me. And only because it's like looking at him under that street light. He was wearing all white. He just looked like a little chocolate angel. And I remember as he walked away, I looked at my friend and I was like, that's going to be my way into y'all family. Now, I said it, didn't think much of it, but that goes to show you how the tongue is a powerful tool. Because the very next day, she called me and she was like, guess who's over here? Remember the guy from last night? He's here and he wants to talk to you. And of course, I'm like, oh, please don't, no, please don't talk to me. Or like, wait, yes, talk to me. Like, no. She gave him the phone. We exchanged phone numbers. He reassured and made it clear that he didn't want anybody who was going to be playing games, because he's not in the mood to play games, which I'm like, oh, okay, maturity. Well, I don't play games. And we exchanged numbers. I was 15 at the time, and I had just finished 8th grade, getting ready to go in 9th grade, and he was 17, and he was going into his senior year. What drew me to him was that, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, 15. I'm thinking older guy, he's a senior, he's cute, mature, has a car, and he provoked a lot of higher order thinking questions and thoughts from me, because at the time boys are asking you, like, you ever kiss somebody, you ever had sex, childish stuff. He was asking me stuff like, what's my 5-year goal? Where do I see myself in 10 years? If I couldn't have the dream I wanted, what would I want my life to look out like? Questions that kind of provoked and prompted some deeper thinking that was just like fresh. And it was like, oh, wow, this is like grown man stuff. And he had this extra little razzle dazzle because at the time he really wanted to be a marriage counselor. And I was like, well, you would have to be a great guy to want to be in that profession. That means you would value marriage, love, and relationships and stuff. The moment that made me feel like this was it was at the time we met. I was actually on punishment for having a boyfriend. My boyfriend at the time, when I met him, had came over and hung out, and we just had like a mini party while my mom was out of town. It wasn't really that deep, but she for sure felt the way about it, and so I was like punished for the rest of the summer. I couldn't talk on the phone. So my grandma at the time, who was my mom's mother-in-law's, she had her own separate line, so she would let me sneak on the phone and use her line when my mom wasn't around so I could talk to him. But the thing about it was, in that time when I was punished, what drew me was we wrote letters. We wrote love letters, like long page, cute little doodling, mailed them through the mail and wait a week to get it. Letters, because I couldn't talk to him, so that was the way we communicated. I would write a letter asking questions and stuff. He would respond. He wrote me poems. Like, everything seemed so romantic and meant to be that I for sure was like in it. And that's kind of was like this is a whole different person. He didn't even remember seeing me. He's only seen me on a picture, and we're like a year strong into this like love letter romance. And when I eventually got off punishment, we were talking on the phone. Until we finally had our chance to meet in person. And it's like, when we finally did, sparks flew, and he was like my guy. How the relationship developed. Like I said, mostly we were writing letters. And when we finally started being able to see each other in person, when my mom agreed to allow him to come see me, that one time on New Year's Day, we met, and it was like first kiss, sparks, all the things. And he went, he was getting kind of towards like the end of his senior year. He asked me to prom. My mom said no or whatever, because he was too old and she didn't want me having anything to do with this older boy. So we started skipping school. So I would meet him like at my bus stop, and he'd pick me up and we'd go hang out, just take a ride, chill, be in each other's space. And then he would drop me back off at my bus stop so I could walk down to the house with the rest of the kids. And we did this up until, like, once he started school. Like, he was skipping classes, I was skipping classes. This was in my 10th grade year when we started skipping school. We had went that whole first year of his senior year not having ever spent any time in person. Dreams we had together. At the time in high school, I was definitely determined to be in the military. I was in NJROTC, and the Navy was my life. That was what I wanted to do. I didn't see anything past that. I didn't even know what I was going to do in the Navy. Can't even swim, but I knew I wanted to go to the Navy. And by then, he went from wanting to be a marriage counselor to do computer technology and stuff. That's what he was going to college for. We kind of just did let's have 3 kids. We're going to name them these cutesy little names. That's the play of both our names. Normal teenage, childish stuff. Early on in our relationship, as far as support and how he supported me, he felt like the only thing I had that was for me. As a second oldest, I was the oldest daughter, second oldest child. I often felt parentified by my mama, and it was like the feeling of raising my siblings, and I didn't feel like I was getting to be able to be a normal teenage girl, do normal teenage things, and have a normal teenage experiences, because I had these responsibilities of taking care of these children. And while she provided food and roof and stuff like that, the day-to-day, everyday parenting stuff seemed to have always fallen on me. I'm the second oldest of 8, so he became like that little piece that was like, I felt like a normal teenager. This was a normal teenage thing to do, is to like a boy and smile and blush and stuff and hang out. Other people at school viewed our relationship as just as cool as I did. Like, oh, you got a boyfriend, he's a senior and stuff. And I was the girl who's like, oh, I got a boyfriend, but he don't go to this school. And we always thought that girl was lying, because like, oh, if your boyfriend don't go to school, then you ain't got no boyfriend. So back then we used to wear the little dog tag. So I had the dog tag with his picture and a little lanyard with his senior picture to be like, no, I got a boyfriend. He for real. And it was all the thing. Now let's jump into, when did my rose-colored glasses come off? The signs I missed. I feel like it were times in our relationship that he would go silent on me, and it was always like I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks, or I haven't gotten a letter in a while, what's up? And I just didn't, it was just kind of like, oh, he said he was punished, or, his mama took his phone, and all those things that added up and made sense. When I look back at red flags, I didn't see red flags at the time because we didn't live in the same area. So there was nothing glaring. Like, I felt like I was getting the appropriate amount of attention and time for a boyfriend that lives an hour away. He would still come and pick me up. We would skip at school a few times a week to hang out. For the most part, he called me every day. We talked on the phone for a while. But it was some nights that I guess could have been something. It was like, it was never like he ended his night with me. It was always like, okay, I gotta go, And it was like, oh, well, can we just talk a little bit longer? I don't want it to end. Let's fall asleep on the phone together. Like, cute stuff. I mean, he sang Tyrese on the phone. What was it? What am I gonna do? Like, literally sing it. And I'm like, what? This is so cringy. It's so cute because he's singing these impassioned words, and I'm supposed to be this girl he was so excited to fall in love with. How did our young love shape how did it shape my identity? How did that young love shape my identity? Now, as an adult, looking back and being reflective, I think I had a lot of stuff going on that my therapist had pointed out that it could have just been like a trauma response to try to cling and hold on to this one thing that felt like it was mine, like it was for me. Like, he was my person. We laughed, we joked, we had a lot in common. I went around his family. They were all great except for his sister. She was a little standoffish at first. I mean, I later learned that's because she knew what was going on, and then to her, I was the problem. I was the girl stepping in and causing all this drama and relationship stuff because she was watching it from a different perspective than I was seeing it. Or I believe she explained it to me as she knew what was going on and she didn't want to get involved. So she was just like, nah, I'm not having no parts of trying to be friends with this girl and the other girl trying to be my friend too. Let's see, how can I wrap this up so it's not too long and rambling, because that'll be another part to kind of go into the next thing. Even with everything that's happened between my husband and I still honor that girl who believed in love, who believed in that love. It just, I don't want to say you had to be there, but it was like to be in that space in that time. It was what I needed. It didn't turn out the way it should have, but it was what I needed. That girl was like soft and bold in her own way. Like, I was my most confident. I was my boldest. I didn't shy away. It's kind of like the woman, like right now, I feel like I'm reverting back to that, being that woman that girl was. I was very confident. When my husband met me, I wasn't like down and out or raggedy. I mean, I was doing modeling. I had friends. I was popular. I was liked. There wasn't any reason for me to not believe that I was exactly who I thought I was. That perspective only shifted as this relationship continued. But I carry that 15-year-old Rashawn with me as I move forward and rebuild and try to come up with what she would look at her 36-year-old self and say. Because I know right now at 36, when I look back, I always remind myself that a 15-year-old picked my husband. Like, a 15-year-old me picked this person, and it was based off feelings and thoughts and expectations of a 15-year-old. And now looking at me, 36-year-old me would not pick my husband ever. If I met my husband, I wouldn't pick him again. But At 15, he worked. He was what I wanted, and we had a lot of love, a lot of laughs, but it was, you know, overshadowed with a lot of drama, a lot of trials, a lot of tribulations. So next time we'll talk about what it looked like to build a life together, starting our family, and moving forward, carrying the weight of everyone else's dreams, all while watching my light slowly diminish. Thank you for lingering with Softly Crowned. Hopefully you stick around to see the next part. I'm gonna try to get these done maybe once a week. We'll see how the summer pick up with me and the kids and some of the other things I got going on. But this just feels like a good way to embrace my healing. I want to be able to look back at these in a year's time and be like, oh, girl, you are nowhere near where you were when you were like a month out of it. Like, I want this to be something to kind of go back and reflect and reminisce on. Take care.